Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Nextiva, helping you engage with your customers and your team in a single app. Now, you might recall Nextiva from episode 1875, where I had a great conversation with Thomas Gorney, Nextiva's co-founder and CEO. Now, Thomas shared how he came to America as a Polish immigrant and college dropout who didn't speak a word of English. But Gorney soon built several market-defining companies before starting Nextiva. And Nextiva brings customer and team conversations into a single screen. So with Nextiva, you'll call, text, chat, video meet, and more. But the really special thing is you'll see the entire conversation history all in a single thread. So now, when a customer contacts you, you'll know their whole story. You can say the right thing right now. So get one app to manage your customer and team conversations by simply visiting nextiva.com/techtalkdaily. Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast, where I've got another global CEO waiting to speak with us today. His name's Sanjay Brahmawar, and he's the CEO of enterprise tech IoT company called Software AG. He's got a great story to share with us today. He's also got an incredibly cool career in technology, so I'd love to find out more about his origin story. But today we're going to be discussing why successful digital transformation actually hinges on two criteria, and they are cultural transformation and talent. And they often get forgotten about when implementing new tech solutions. So I want to learn more about that, how to leverage both of those when modernising an enterprise, exploring the roadblocks businesses face when undergoing company-wide strategic changes, and how to get buy-in from everyone, not to mention a few leadership lessons he learned along the way, including resilience and patience, I would imagine. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Frankfurt in Germany, where today's guest is waiting to speak with us. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
So Neil, thanks for having me. I am proud to serve as the CEO of Software AG and have been doing that since August 2018. And my background is actually that I've been in the tech space for a long time. And prior to coming to Software AG, I used to work for IBM for about 16 years. I've worked a lot in technology being leveraged in industrial spaces, organizations such as oil and gas, automotive, manufacturing, supply chain, logistics, etc. So a lot of experience in working with organizations and how to leverage technology to become more digital. And now, as the CEO of Software AG, have been leading a transformation in our company with the primary objective of helping organizations become truly connected enterprises, to be more digital, to be able to be more competitive in their businesses and be more efficient in their businesses. So that's what I am doing.
Absolutely love that. And if I was to take you back in time, even further than IBM, can you remember the moment that put you on the path you're on right now, or where your passion for technology came from?
Yeah, I mean, my passion for technology starts from early days. I come from a family of fighter pilots. Everybody in my family is a fighter pilot. My father, my brother, and relatives. And so I guess in some ways you could say I'm the black sheep in the family. But the passion for technology started from there itself. And yeah, I guess in some ways in the Air Force, you are surrounded with so many aspects of technology and how technology is used and leveraged. So that's where it grew from. And then, as a student, I studied engineering. And so, again, a lot of exposure to using technology. And my first job was actually with Honda, in fact, working on the shop floor. So from those early days, I have been quite passionate about different types of technology. But more so, I found my sweet spot in actually working on the business side, where leveraging technology to be able to drive growth, to be able to drive differentiation, to be able to change your business model, to be able to have better customer intimacy or employee satisfaction. So those are things that really get me excited, Neil. But my passion for technology started long ago.
Brilliant. And of course, it was that path that would eventually lead you to becoming the CEO of Software AG. And for people that are hearing about Software AG for the first time, can you tell me a little bit more about the company and the kind of problems that it solves with technology for your customers?
Absolutely. I think, we're a very, very proud company. We are, I would say, 50 years bold, Neil, not 50 years old. We were formed, we were set up in 1969 by our founder, Dr. Schnell. At that point in time, we started off with transactional database software, Adabas and Natural, which was really, pioneering software, but also leading edge software. And in those days, there was no software. So this was, therefore, hence, he registered the company as Software AG. AG stands for Aktiengesellschaft, which is basically Inc. or, private limited. But the name of the company really is software. Today, of course, you could not call a company software. But that's how, that was the roots of the company in 1969. And from there, the company has over the years, innovated and reinvented itself. And we've stepped into several areas. And today we actually major in 3 areas. So hybrid integration, API management, helping companies connect different parts of their landscape to make data move. We're into IoT, connecting devices and assets, whether they are mobile or static, collecting the data from these assets, bringing it into our platform, and then combining it with other forms of data to create insights and intelligence. And then we are in business process management with our RS platform, where, every company that wants to be more digital has to look at the ways of working, have to look at their processes, and have to look at how they do things consistently. And that's where our platform helps companies become more digital and adapt their processes, do process mining and drive data out to continuously improve their operations. So with these 3 platforms, we help companies become truly connected enterprises and undertake more of digital transformation. And that's an introduction to Software AG.
And looking back throughout your whole career, you've seen so many big changes in the world of tech, and you've watched our entire world evolve, not only in the workplace, but in fact how the emerging technologies have transformed how we live as well. So I'm curious, with all that in mind, what excites you about living in a connected world where people, technology, and processes all combine?
I think it's a very exciting time that we are in, and even though we've been experiencing 2 years of the pandemic, I think the pandemic has been a very, very telling time for what role and what advantage technology can offer. And in fact, in some ways, dealing with the pandemic, dealing with the challenges, being able to recover, being able to come out of it, technology has been the biggest lever. So I think, today it's very exciting to be able to see how, leveraging data and how organizations can use the power of data, which they have today or they're collecting at a very rapid pace, helps them make better decisions, helps them become more efficient, more competitive. So therefore, I feel it's a very exciting time. And, the speed of innovation is another thing that is very exciting today, because it's a space where, of course, what was leading edge, maybe even 1 year or 2 years ago has changes quite quickly. So I think it's a space where, constant innovation helps deliver, great results, and companies that are able to be more digital and are able to leverage this technology. So, everybody doesn't need to be a software company, but everybody needs to, kind of use the power of software to be able to drive their businesses. So I think that's what makes it very exciting to be in these times,
Absolutely. And one of the things that put you on my radar and why I invited you on the podcast today was I was reading more about your belief that successful digital transformation actually hinges on 2 criteria: cultural transformation and talent. So can you tell me more about that, and also how anyone listening, and business leaders, decision makers listening, can leverage both of those to modernize their enterprise?
Yeah, and thanks for pointing that out, Neil, because, I'm a firm believer that digital transformation is not only about adopting technology or kind of implementing platforms or implementing software. Digital transformation is so much more about the ways of working. It's about addressing the way we do things, changing those behaviors, changing those processes, because you can adopt a very innovative platform or very expensive technology, but if you continue to do things in the old ways, then the output or the outcome is not effectively going to be what you are looking for. So I think addressing those ways of working, and hence really looking at culture, looking at aspects of behavior, is so important as companies embark on these digital transformation journeys. Now, when you think about culture, the core aspect here is people. It is talent. It is what kind of environment you create in your organization. Is your organization one where it is very hierarchical and people follow instructions and want that security blanket of being told what to do or being asked what to do? Or you create an environment where you are allowing people to be more entrepreneurial. You're creating the space for discussion, for debate, for being inclusive, for taking kind of risky decisions, calculated risky decisions, but also creating room for failure, so that one can kind of learn from failures and then obviously iterate, use the minimum viable product kind of thinking. So it's very important that if you want to be a digital company, if you want to be an agile company, you want to drive innovation fast, if you don't address the cultural aspects and what kind of environment you create, it just becomes an ambition, but there is no path to get to that ambition.
And it's so refreshing to hear you say that. And for any business leader listening that wants to be more agile, wants to drive innovation throughout their organization, what roadblocks do you see businesses typically face when undergoing company-wide strategic changes, for example?
I think, it's a lot of people put a lot of time and energy into thinking through the strategy, and I think strategy is very important. We know that, I learned that because I started my career in a Japanese company, and Japanese organizations and teams spend a lot of time to think through the plan, get the plan right. And then once you get the plan right, you can execute. But I think the word execute is very core there. So, a plan is only as good as a plan is, a strategy is only as good as a strategy is. It then boils down to execution. And execution is all about, having a clear vision, having a clear roadmap, having clear communication, being able to then hold yourself and others in the team accountable to those milestones, to those deliverables. And so I think when I see roadblocks in organizations around, going more digital or being able to be successful, I see not even enough attention being paid to, the cultural transformation, to the change management, to the communication that's required, to, painting the vision, planting a flag and getting people aligned to that North Star, building that belief and that conviction in the organization to that we will get to that North Star. The journey is not going to be straight. We are going to have to sail and tack, but we know exactly where we're trying to go to and what we're thinking. So I think the roadblocks are those, rather than that there is not enough funding or there's not enough technology or there's not a proper strategy. I think it's those aspects that don't get the right kind of attention. And often it boils down to the leader and the leadership, where these things are very, very critical.
And I appreciate this is a big question and there's possibly no one answer to fit every single business and enterprise and industry. But what's the secret to getting a buy-in from leaders and pushing forward those changes?
In terms of, getting buy-in,
yeah,
I think there are a couple of things, One is there needs to be a certain level of authenticity, and there needs to be a certain level of, walking the talk. So I think it really starts from having conviction in the plan or the strategy or the journey that you are going to go for, and then being able to share that in a very authentic way, and also to some extent being vulnerable. Being willing to stand there and say, hey, I or we don't have all the answers, and we're going to navigate this together, and we are going to figure out ways and get the answers together. So don't expect the journey to be a perfect journey. Don't expect that I or we have every problem thought through. But I think we have the structure, we have a roadmap. And we're going to walk, travel through this roadmap. So that's kind of one part, being, being open about that, being vulnerable to, failures that can happen along the way. And I think the second part is, to get buy-in, I feel it's quite important to orient people around the why. Why are we doing this? Not so much the what. I think a lot of attention gets paid onto these Excel sheets and plans, and we need to do this, we need to tick the box. Less attention is paid on the why. Why are we doing this? Why is it so important for our company? Why could we not survive if we didn't do this? Or why would we would not be competitive if we didn't take these steps? Or why would we not meet our customers' requirements if we didn't do this? So that why is very important, first and foremost. And as people start understanding the why, then it's very important to back it up with milestones and hitting milestones. Because, when the team starts seeing that, step by step, milestones are hit, there are proof points that can be referred back to, the progress can be quantified, then I think conviction starts building, and you get a lot more people rowing forward than either not rowing or rowing backwards.
And as someone that's had a hugely successful career in technology, has possibly seen it all, seen every repeated mistake, every action from a team when faced with change, I'm curious, what leadership lessons have you learned if you were to look back and reflect, including resilience and patience in the fear of large strategic transformation? Because I think that I'm sure you've got a lot of insights you can share around that from worried leaders that are listening to our conversation today.
Well, I think you learn a lot through many experiences. I think every experience adds to your, to your, let's say, to your library. I've had a lot of experiences, a lot of failures, and I think those are where you learn the most. Definitely from your failures, you learn a lot. But I think a couple of things that at least stick with me is, one is the importance of listening. And it's often very tempting to tell or to explain what to do, and it's quite tough to take the time to listen and try to understand different perspectives. So I think listening, and I could only say, when I came into Software AG, everybody wanted me to tell them what I was going to change, and what is going to be the first 2 actions or 3 actions. And I actually spent 60 days on the road, really going and talking to our people. I met 2,500 people from the company, over 100 customers, because I really wanted to listen and try to understand what's really good and what we need to preserve in the company. What do we need to change, and any advice that people have for me. So, and actually, in fact, our strategy really came out of all of that feedback that was given to me. So I think that is number one, really importance of listening. I think the second thing that at least I have learned over the years is there is so much value and advantage in being inclusive. And when I say inclusive, it's not so much about, it's not only about diversity or that different backgrounds. I think being inclusive also means, encouraging everybody to be able to share their view or their opinions. Often in a team, when you sit down together, you'll find that there are some people that are obviously speak a lot more or much louder than the others. So, being inclusive means also encouraging those that perhaps might not naturally be able to offer their opinion, to bring their opinion into that. So that's, I think, the second thing that definitely for me inclusive. The third one was the one I talked about, being a bit more vulnerable and exposing yourself. Because when you do that, I think it encourages a good spirit in the team, in the organization. People don't feel conscious about needing to be right all the time or needing to have all the answers, and they're more than willing to then accept that there is a different way to do something. So I think that showing that vulnerability and trying to open up the organization to more a learning organization rather than sort of a know-all type of organization. And then the last one is, of course, it's this passion and energy, and I think you've got to create that passion and energy and that drive in the organization, and that is something that's very important for leaders to be conscious about. So I'd say those are kind of the 4 things that I would take away from my learnings.
Love that. And I must warn you now, before any guest comes on this podcast, I always go online to find out anything I can about the guests. And one of the things I learned about you was that your love of cycling helps you bring something different into your day-to-day life as a tech leader. So can I ask you to expand on that for everyone listening?
Thank you, Neil. But I do love cycling. I find that as a fantastic way to re-energize, to switch off, to really create this way to recharge the batteries. And I've met a lot of people who tell you that when they are running or they're cycling, they have the best moments and the best thoughts, and they're able to really come up with great ideas. I have to be honest and tell you, Neil, I actually have zero going on in my head when I'm biking. There's just nothing, absolutely zero. And that's so refreshing because I can't think of anything. And so it's for me, it's an awesome downtime. And I love doing it. So, any kind of cycling, road biking, mountain biking, e-mountain bike, you name it, I'm all in it. So yeah, so cycling is my way to really create a certain amount of space for myself where I can recharge my batteries, and it's something I love doing. And so that's my recharge zone.
Brilliant. And I want to thank you I know you're a very busy guy, so thank you for taking the time to sit down and share your story, share your insights with me. And I've been thinking of a way that maybe I might be able to give you something back in return. Now, some of the biggest names in business, VC funding and tech have either been guests or listened to this podcast. So if I was to say, is there a person that you'd love to have a private breakfast or lunch with, and why? Who would you say? And we'll throw something out into the ether and see if we can make something happen for you.
That's an interesting one because, there's so many people that I'd love to do that with. I would tell you, there is a gentleman that I had the opportunity to talk to, and I really enjoyed my conversation. And so I'd love to do that again. And that is Satya. And the reason was just about the conversation on the whole point that you brought up, which is so much about transformation is around culture. And so much about transformation is about, the ways of doing things and the environments that you create. And so I really enjoyed my conversation with him to learn from what has happened at Microsoft and all the different experiences that he had been through. So yeah, I'd love to do that again. And if somebody has an opportunity to do that, I'd definitely recommend that to them. So that's one. And maybe one thing that I would say that we have used quite a lot is we have really worked with a thinking which is called Zone to Win. And it's a book written by Jeffrey Moore, which you can find. But actually, what's so good is it really forces you to think very clearly about how you organize yourself. Whether it's in teams, whether it's in your business. And so that's another person. And we've had Jeffrey also come and talk to our teams. Another person I really enjoyed talking to, learning from, and a way of thinking that we've used very much in Software AG also.
Awesome. Well, I'll add both those names to the podcast today, and hopefully we'll send it out into the universe and see if we can manifest a meeting there between us. So, but before I let you go, for anyone listening that would just like to find out more information about Software AG, what is the best starting point for all things Software AG?
Well, the best way, and today, is our website and our big knowledge base that we have there in terms of many use cases, many practical stories around how the technology is being leveraged. And I say I almost think it's so much more important to learn about use cases than it is so much about just the technical aspect about the platform or the capabilities. So I think our website is the best place. And then of course, our people, our people in the different regions, our technical and sales people, they are the best way to be able to talk about Software AG.
Well, I've loved chatting with you today around, yes, why a successful digital transformation hinges on that two criteria of cultural transformation and talent. I think it's so important to recognise that it's people that are every bit as important, if not more important, than any new technology solution that's implemented. But more than anything, thank you for sharing your personal story, your backstory there, and what put you on this path, and the future of the company and where you're heading. So thanks for joining me today.
I really appreciate talking to you, Neil. It was good fun, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Another great story there. He's the CEO of a global tech company, but the big lessons were once again, digital transformation hinges on people, cultural transformation, talent. It's not all about technology, and I think it's such an important message to deliver, and things like resilience and patience often spring to mind. But I'd love to hear your experiences. Did anything resonate with you from today's conversation? I suspect it may have, and I'd love to hear your experiences and your insights. So as always, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. Just look for @NeilC.Hughes. I'm the easiest guy in the world to find. But a big thank you for listening as always. And until next time, don't be a stranger.